Thank y'all so much. It's great to be here. Thank you for remembering our veterans. I'm a daughter of a veteran and a granddaughter of two veterans. So very important day for all of us, particularly here near Yorktown. Anyway, so thank y'all for doing that. Also, Genevieve was my guest yesterday, so that was my monthly meeting where she was the speaker. So we're kind of trading places, which is fun to do. And then I do have to echo, as a UVA grad, basketball season. Don't need to say more, right? I'm going to try to quickly go through this. My slides are mostly images, and that's intentional. And usually I have lots and lots of questions about the Arts District, which is what I'll be talking about today, but also many of the things Dave mentioned. And all of you know Dave was a city council member in Williamsburg in a former life. And so he experienced a lot and summed it up well. Williamsburg experienced what most cities experienced after World War II. We didn't experience that till the turn of the century here. So several years, 60 years after most cities experienced that, we started seeing the growth of our suburbs. And so it's true, we're no longer the epicenter, the only economic entertainment venue or employment venue in the greater Williamsburg area, but we want to make sure we remain one, and we remain a very visible, important one. So come downtown, there's plenty of parking, come visit, have fun, eat, shop, walk, enjoy the downtown. So there's my plug for the city. So the creative economy is what this initiative that became the Arts District was all about. When you look at what Williamsburg has in terms of its strengths and where we're going to grow economically, the creative economy, who Richard Florida famously coined this term, it's about where creativity is the capital to grow your business. In the city of Williamsburg, we're not going to bring in manufacturing. We're not even going to bring in advanced manufacturing. We're a place where tourism thrives, education thrives, and our two big institutions speak to that. And we don't have any industrial land. It's just not, that's going to happen in the counties, those jobs, those manufacturing jobs, which we need to bring money into our basic economy, but that's not going to happen in the city. So in the city, it's going to be people like, is it Raphael? Who are using their mind as their creativity, not machines and tools, to create wealth in the city. So that's all about what we call the creative economy. And then back up many years ago when Jean Zeidler was still mayor, she and I would chat about the city, and she said, Michelle, I remember a time 30 years ago when artists lived downtown. People did their artistic work in their backyards. There were blacksmiths, there were potters, all kinds of people doing this creative economy in town. But they got priced out and zoned out, basically. So a couple things that happened there. The zoning didn't say you could do that in homes. So as neighbors started to complain, there's a blacksmith next door, the city had to enforce its zoning and shut down some of those businesses. And also affordability. The cost in the city continued to increase. Part of those housing cost increase are being a college town, where several students can pay a landlord a lot more money than one artist to live in a home near the campus. So those issues, we started to see the artists were leaving the city. These creative people were leaving, going to the counties, going to Southwest Virginia, leaving the state even, to find other places to do their creative work. So why is the Economic Development Director involved in this? Hopefully I've set the stage for why that is. The creative economy is a growth sector in America, and we thought it fit perfectly in what the city has to offer, what would go nicely with our tourism and our education assets, and it's an area we wanted to focus. It's a way to diversify the economy. That's Economic Development 101. We're heavily, I keep saying education and tourism, but those are our economic engines, and when you rely on too few engines, all industries go up and down, and so when they go down, you don't have anything else to keep you up. So it's about diversifying, bringing in different kinds of industries and businesses. I think I've covered all the other things except the young professional aspect. When we started talking about the creative economy, it really made sense to our big employers, Colonial Williamsburg, William & Mary, Busch Gardens, for many reasons. We want young professionals here, they said, to remain a vibrant city. but also they have trailing spouses who come and need work and want to be able to create wealth here in this area. So it very much appealed to them, and they were partners from the beginning on this project. So, but what can the government do? Some people think we can do a lot more than we can, but there's, it's particularly a local government in Virginia. We can only do what the General Assembly gives us permission to do. That's called the Dillon Rule in Virginia. And generally in America, the government's, you know, we just don't, we can't, we don't have as much power as some people give us credit for. I'll put it that way. So, but we want to look at, so what can we do to encourage these things to happen, to build on this philosophy that I've just presented, that the creative economy is an industry we'd like to go after and see succeed and blend into what's already here in the city. So we control zoning, that's pretty clear. In 2007, the General Assembly said, cities and counties, you can create arts districts. You have to call them arts districts, they said, in order to provide incentives to businesses to come to a certain area of your city or your county. So in 2007, that was an available tool for us. And then we know that many governments look at subsidies to help artists pay for living in workspace where things are not affordable. So we knew those were 3 areas we should look at and see if it made sense for Williamsburg. So the first one was looking at reducing the zoning obstacles. We have a fantastic planning staff at the city of Williamsburg. They're small and lean, but they're really good. Through the comprehensive planning process, they did a lot of work around where does it make sense to change the zoning to allow these artisans, these creative people, to live and work in the same place. There's a lot of obstacles if you're not zoned correctly, besides your neighbor complaining and getting you shut down. Your insurance company is usually reluctant to insure you if you have both your business, particularly an intensive business like that, and living. You want to join those together in your insurance policy, and if your zoning doesn't allow it, they're reluctant, as well as your lenders. It's the same case. So it really helps build those cases for access to capital in insurance. And then just, is there a community acceptance of this? So through the comprehensive planning process, we had many, many public hearings, and it appeared that there was. So City Council ultimately changed the zoning in 4 areas of the city that are residential, and you can now also be a creative artist in those areas as well and run a business. Then we had this tool from the state that said you can create an arts district, and you can offer incentives within that district to bring businesses there and artists there. So we took that and said, well, that's a tool we should probably use. We broadened it to include the creative economy that I discussed earlier. So visual and performing artists, yes, are included, but I'll get into some definitions. We really broadened that. And then we looked for an area of the city where it made sense to do that. We looked at 5 areas. 4 of them was where the zoning changes had been made, where we knew artists were now allowed to live and work. And the 5th area was where, at the time, a nonprofit was considering building a community art center. So we said we better look there, too, and see if it makes sense to do it around that area. After over a year of talking to the public and studying these things, we decided on this area of the city. It's about 6 blocks. It's a natural mixed-use area. Zoom in. Lafayette Street on the upper right is the residential area. Richmond Road at the bottom through the center is the commercial area, and just over time this area is a natural mixed-use area where there's residences coming up those streets in between, blending to the commercial. So that was really exciting to us. Additionally, because of the things Dave was talking about, we had a 22% commercial vacancy rate here, and that was not even including the shopping center. So just within this commercial area, historically there have been waiting lists to have your business in that area. The landlords didn't know what to do. They've never had to worry about this before. But again, it was the growth of the suburbs, Newtown coming on board, Lightfoot, that was creating more supply than demand for office space and commercial space, retail as well. So 22% is a really high vacancy rate, not a good thing. The national average is 7 to 10%. So we knew that identified an area that could use the government shining some light on it and providing some incentives to get some businesses there. So we selected this area of the city, set up the arts district, and provided tax incentives in that area. And I think that go through them. Yes. So I've already talked about what is the creative economy. It's clearly visual and performing artists, dancers, musicians, watercolor painters, oil painters. It's clearly those people, but we broadened it to say it's also graphic designers, architects, computer industries, anywhere where you're using your mind to build that capital. And we actually, there's the definition if you'd really like to see it, that's in the ordinance. So you see it includes architecture, culinary arts. That was really important to us. We felt a vibrant area needed a place not full of chain restaurants, but where people were actually making the food, and it was a culinary art, so that's included as well. TV and radio, museums are all included. We also said in the ordinance, if you can convince us that you're a creative economy, we'll take a look, and because we knew things will change with this economy over time.
Architecture, but no engineering. Why is that?
Well, an engineer could come talk to us about that. I mean, it is open, so that probably makes sense. We haven't had.
I'm retired.
Okay. Well, you could reopen, do some consulting.
There you go. Get creative. That's a great idea.
Any engineer who wants to be creative, we'll talk about that. Yeah, exactly. We did say that some things don't apply, and that would be a chain business. A business that has more than 3 locations is how we define that, because we really wanted this to be homegrown and providing business an opportunity to create wealth for our citizens. And we also did say doctors and accountants didn't count. So
But think about all the creative accounting that goes on.
It was right around the time AIG was going on, and so no, that's not why. I tease. And look, I'm on recording, so that was a joke. But that was a policy decision made that was a business that's already pretty much in existence around just because of the services it provided, and we're trying to bring in some newer businesses. So it was a policy decision made that those 3 things would not count. Oh, let me go back, sorry. We did one other thing around I mentioned the 3rd thing we thought a government could do was provide subsidies for artists to live and work somewhere because the affordability was high. We did bring in a consultant who's an expert in low-income tax credits, and interestingly enough, the IRS code has a clause in it that says you can use low-income tax credits just for artist housing. Very unusual that the IRS code allows that, but somebody lobbied for that and got that in there. So we brought the national expert in to talk to us about that. Can we do that with a developer, a public-private partnership, where we can make this happen? We did a big survey of artists and creative people within 50 miles, and we didn't have enough demand for it to make sense to go through that process. They say you need at least 33 units to go through the low-income tax credits, and we were like at 29. It was pretty close, but we weren't high enough to proceed. So we hope that sometime in the future, council will revisit that or look for other ways to deal with that affordability issue. It is an area that we still need to work on, and you don't see artists living and working in the arts district. So we know that that's part of our challenge moving forward. So, one thing all this did, and this was intentional on our part, was just to create a buzz. People started talking about the arts district, talking about that area of the city that had a 22% vacancy rate, and we were just shining a light on it and offering some tax incentives, and then relying on the private market to make it happen. We always knew it wasn't going to be, some people talked to us and said, is the county going to come condemn my land or use eminent domain to make things happen here? It was never the city's intention. The city's intention was to shine the light, set the stage, offer some incentives, and see if the private market took over from there. And that was very much a policy decision that the role of government wasn't to go in there and buy all the land and build things. So the results. We've had 12 new businesses come in that qualify under that creative economy definition. There are 40 businesses total in the district. We're down to a 6% vacancy rate, so we're below the national average, so that is just awesome. Those businesses that have come in under that creative economy definition have created 43 jobs. We have public sculptures in the Arts District now. If you haven't been down there recently, the Arts District became a public art gallery in August of this year. We did a nationwide call for sculptures, for sculpture artists to submit their work. 21 of them are installed. They'll be there for a year, and they're all for sale. And we're also asking the public to vote on their favorite piece. And we received a grant from the state to purchase a piece that the people's choice, or whichever one gets the most votes. The city will also get a commission if any of them sell, and that money will be used to do the program again next year. We did have some cost around installation, putting down concrete pads, and insurance, and that was all done with a private donation, anonymous donation. So it's a pretty exciting project for our arts district. We found the end of August, the sculptures started getting a lot of attention, and 3 of them, unfortunately, have been vandalized. So it's something that talking to other communities before, when we were doing our due diligence, should we do this project? That was one of the questions we had, and all the other communities, Norfolk, Portsmouth, no, that never happens, they said. And unfortunately, we've had 3 here. So our guys in the shop are great, though. They've put them back together and gotten them back in place. So probably shouldn't have mentioned that. It's just a fact. I mean, it has happened. So. Also, the 40 businesses in the district have formed a business association, and they're in their infancy, but they're trying to figure out ways, how can we work together to market this area and bring more customers down here and work together. And then the city has put up street banners that you've probably seen to kind of delineate the district. There's a lot more that needs to be done. Council sees this as a 10, 15, 20-year process. And we look in the capital improvement plan for how can we improve the sidewalks and do different things, maybe do some pedestrian wayfinding signage to help people move around there. So we've got a long ways to go, but these are the current results. I just wanted to show you all some pictures if you're not intimately involved or intimately knowledgeable about the district. This is the radio station that's in the district. This was a redevelopment project that Demetrius Varakis did. The old Southern Inn used to be there. And my favorite story, there used to be a
Psychic.
fortune teller.
Psychic
Fortune teller there, and this is my favorite Gazette story as well. She was quoted in the Gazette, and we were working with the Varakis family for quite a long time to try to make this deal happen and that old Southern Inn come down. She was quoted in the paper saying, "I had no idea that this redevelopment was happening, and I was going to lose my lease." Not good for a fortune teller's business to admit that. So, but now we have a beautiful mixed use. There's townhomes behind this building.
It's a big cupcake company there.
Yes,
Yeah.
Extraordinary Cupcakes. So they make all their cupcakes from scratch on site, so they qualify for our tax incentives. They're wonderful cupcakes. And the Dancer's Boutique sells supplies to dancers, so she also qualifies as a creative economy business.
How did Domino's qualify? I thought you said that you were looking for chain businesses.
Pardon?
I thought you said that you weren't leasing to
How
chain
does
businesses.
Right, Domino's does not receive tax credits, but they're certainly allowed to go there. They're allowed by zoning. We're happy to have them, but they do not get the tax credit. Peter Chang's came in, and Peter Chang, we worked with Jen Lee, his manager, a lot on this project. Unfortunately, this was his 4th store in Virginia, so he did not receive tax incentives, but he was still thrilled to be in this district, and great for us. We didn't have to give the incentives. And then the Williamsburg Contemporary Arts Center, formerly known as This Century Art Gallery, has their education center in the Arts District. And G.T. Brooks, some of you may have known G.T., when in my early years in the city, he was one of the people I sat down with just to talk about his thoughts about economic development in the city. And so when we were early contemplating the arts district concept, the creative economy, he was one of the people I reached out to get his gut check, and he was so excited. And so it's so neat, even though he's deceased, to see the art center in his building. I think he would really, really enjoy that.
Would you be kind enough to define verbally what the arts district encompasses?
Sure. Let me get through the last few pictures. We also have the ballet, or this is the Business Association. We have 2 hair salons. They're ones who weren't listed who came to us and convinced us they were doing creative things, so that's an example.
I'll tell you what, I'll stop by, I'll convince you.
Okay, awesome. Love to have you there. The ballet is also there. Colonial Folk Art Studio and Gallery is there. And that's me. So I'll go back to the map. One thing we knew that would happen that sometimes the press likes to jump on. The press has been really good to us about this project. We knew that these type of creative economy businesses would not all succeed. Some of them would go out of business. And so we've had one outgrow the district and move elsewhere, which was great. Wine and Design. She's now in James City County, but she's thriving. And we have had 3 businesses close. But we knew that going into that was something, that's just the natural course of the economy.
What about the Montessori school? Is that included?
Well, they don't pay taxes, so they don't need tax incentives.
But they're in the district.
They're in the district, and I think, and council agrees, that is a great use to bring that vibrancy and youth to the Montessori school.
You get the traffic in there.
And traffic, yes, so you've got 50 families coming and going twice a day. It's really wonderful. Full disclosure, my son's a student there, but they are having an open house. So I brought those for y'all today, since it's in the Arts District. This is not to market to get children there. This is just to let the community know that the Montessori school is there and come by and see us. So it's not a sales pitch, it's just a come check us out. So I'll leave those here. Here's the map of the Arts District. Somebody asked, maybe I'll start with this one. You can see downtown, this is College Corner. And if you go out Richmond Road towards west, towards this location, you cross into the Arts District right before you get to the Williamsburg Shopping Center, right before you get to Monticello. Does that make sense? Okay. And then to zoom in, you can see here's the Williamsburg Shopping Center. Here's Monticello. It turns into Lafayette Street, and it's these 6 blocks that come down. So the residential is on this side and then blends over, and it becomes commercial on the Richmond side. Trying to think of other landmarks. Peter Chang's is right here.
It includes that block that goes all the way down to Monticello?
It does not, it's based on the zoning, so it does not include the Super 8 motel. But it,
It's both sides of Richmond?
both sides of Richmond Road,
Okay.
yes sir. But not the Williamsburg Shopping Center.
Right.
Here's your cue.
You need to.
Yeah, it's my cue. I'm happy to answer questions if we have time, or I can stay.
I hope the city is
Let's
planning
have
to redevelop
one question,
Lafayette
and then
Street.
after that, anyone who has questions, come up and talk to Michelle.
Do you want me to, is that the question you want me to answer?
I'll just take it back. You need to redevelop Lafayette Street. It needs a lot of work, and I think that would help open up that area. A lot of people don't go down there because it's really hard to drive with traffic parked on one side and no sidewalk. It works.
Right. Although, some people would say the complete street viewpoint, that slowing down and being in there is a good thing. I know what you mean, there's cars parked there and
I'm
it's a
saying
very
it-
narrow
it-
street.
People tend not to go there
Right.
because it's not a very attractive
Right.
street to ride on.
Sidewalks and underground wiring, there's a lot of work to be done. But can I talk about the Williamsburg Shopping Center? Unless there's another,
Well, we're running out
you're out of time.
of time.
We're working on it. Don't think we're not. But we don't own it, so we're trying to get the best redeveloper in that we can. And I'm happy to chat offline about it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Michelle.